Okay, I'm a warrior because I am a mama to a warrior. I have a little boy named Cal who was born with something called an unbalanced chromosome translocation. He has a partial trisomy of chromosome 15 and a partial deletion of chromosome 16. And my husband Ben and I found this out when I was about 11 weeks pregnant with him after an early cell-free DNA test that we did at 10 weeks pregnant. I had had a few miscarriages before we got pregnant with him, and with the last miscarriage, they were able to test the tissue from the baby and find out, what was going on and try to figure out why I was miscarrying. And they found out that that baby also had the unbalanced chromosome translocation. So from there, they tested me first to figure out if it came from me, and then they found out that I have something called a balanced chromosome translocation. And that just means that I am not missing any chromosomes. I don't have any missing or extra, but that my chromosomes are just my 15th and 16th chromosomes are just arranged a little bit differently. And so with that, 50% of the time when we get pregnant, depending on which strand of chromosome the baby takes from my husband and which it takes from me, we will miscarry because of this unbalanced chromosome translocation that can be caused from this with the baby. So anyways, that's super scientific. Not sure if anybody will get any of that, but after we found this out, our doctor recommended that we do in vitro in order to give us the best chance of having a healthy baby, because they'd be able to test the embryos after they get the eggs and fertilize them. They can test them and look at the DNA and make sure that it has all of the genetic material and DNA that it needs to be healthy before transferring it back into me. So this was kind of sad news, but also good news that there was a solution in a way that we could get pregnant and bring a baby into this world that was healthy without having any more miscarriages, hopefully. And so we decided we wanted to do this because I didn't want to put my body through any more miscarriages, and we just had been trying for a few years, and we really just wanted the best chance of bringing a baby into this world. And this was in the spring of 2016, and we had decided that we were going to try to do in vitro that next fall. We wanted to get through the summer and kind of just make sure we were doing it at a time when we didn't have a lot going on and we could be relaxed, and hopefully it would work the first time. So once we decided this, we ended up spontaneously getting pregnant with Cal, of course, which was really exciting and kind of surprising because with my other pregnancies, I had to take fertility medication just to get pregnant, but this was just a spontaneous pregnancy, and after we had decided we were going to move forward with in vitro, we got pregnant, which you hear happens a lot, I feel like. But we were excited because we thought, maybe this was meant to be, maybe we would have a healthy baby, and that's why we got pregnant naturally, because the baby's going to be healthy and we wouldn't have to do, in vitro after all. But we were also nervous because we knew there was a 50-50 chance that I would miscarry again because the baby would have this unbalance of chromosomes. When I was about 10 weeks pregnant, we had the early cell-free DNA test done and got the results back about a week later, and found out that this baby did have the unbalanced chromosome translocation, and we were told that I would most likely miscarry, or there would be about a 3% chance that the baby would make it full term and be born but would have major developmental and health issues. So I vividly remember getting that news, and I just remember being heartbroken. My husband and I both were just super down and just didn't know if we should maybe even hope for a miscarriage, because we didn't know what it would be like if he did make it full term. We also found out he was a boy from this test. We were just, super sad about it. But some things happened, and I was able to just kind of pretty soon after hearing that news, just move forward and trust in God and have faith that everything would work out and be okay with this pregnancy. So throughout my pregnancy, I was monitored really closely and had lots of ultrasounds, and they just kept a really close eye on the baby since they knew he had this unbalanced chromosome translocation. But they never saw anything abnormal on an ultrasound. He looked totally healthy. I had a normal pregnancy, and they never saw anything that was worrisome. So then we started kind of getting our hopes up that maybe this early test that we had done at 10 weeks was wrong. Our geneticists kind of encourage us not to get our hopes up because she just said that it was a really low likelihood that that test was wrong, and but she was also surprised that I hadn't miscarried either. So anyway, we still kind of in the back of our minds got our hopes up a little bit that maybe the test was wrong. But then at about 37 weeks, I ended up going into labor at my last doctor's appointment. I was there seeing my maternal fetal medicine doctor, and this was the first time that they had actually seen something a little bit abnormal on this ultrasound. They saw something with his heart that was a little bit worrisome. They didn't seem super worried, but of course I was panicking. And they said that they could induce me that day if I wanted to, but I ended up actually going into labor that day anyways, which is kind of crazy, but it all worked out, and little Cal was born the next morning, and we still didn't know 100% sure, 100% at that point, if he had the chromosome unbalanced translocation. We still had to wait a few days for some test results to come back, but he wasn't breathing on his own when he was born, and I remember they let me hold him for about 10 seconds before they rushed him to the NICU, and I remember looking at him and just feeling so much love for him, but I also just kind of had the feeling that he did have the unbalanced chromosome translocation. I don't know why, just by looking at him, he was so sweet and just perfect, but I just kind of had the feeling that he did have it. The next time I saw him was when he was in the NICU, hooked up to a CPAP machine and an IV, and he had lots of doctors around him kind of working on him. And they had done lots of tests and scans at that point already. And I remember some doctors sitting my husband and I down and just telling us, kind of going through a list of several abnormalities that Cal was born with. And including that list was about 10 different things that were wrong with his heart. And that was kind of the most worrisome thing at that point. And we pretty much knew at that point that he did have the unbalanced chromosome translocation. It was pretty clear. We were super emotional. I was emotional as a new mom. I just felt really helpless and didn't know what to think or do. But Cal spent 8 weeks in the NICU, just getting better and getting healthier, and he made a lot of progress within that time, and he was able to come home after those 8 weeks. And since then, he has just amazed us with his progress. He is such a sweet little boy, and he is just such a joy and blessing in our lives. And he's amazed us and blown away his doctors at how well he's been doing, considering he wasn't even supposed to make it here. And we just feel like he's such a blessing in our lives. And he does have a feeding tube in his stomach, and so he gets fed through there, but he's making progress with his eating by mouth too. And he sees lots of doctors and therapists that follow him, because he does still have a lot of health issues that we kind of just have to follow. And but he, despite all of that, is just doing so well. And we're just so grateful to have him in our lives. And truthfully, I feel like he is the real warrior, but I'm just lucky to be his mom and be able to raise him in this life. And I'm so grateful for that, and I'm honored that Nena & Co. reached out to me and thought of me to be part of their Warrior campaign and share my story. And I love my convertible day bag. I've been using it as a diaper bag. It holds so much, and I can take everything that I need with me when I leave the house. And so I will post some pictures of that in the blog post I'm going to do for them. And I love you guys. Thanks for letting me share my story.